through the English Channel. It's thought they will join other forces in the war in Syria. The flotilla was monitored by Royal Navy warships as it passed through the Straits of Dover early this morning. The Defence Secretary Michael Fallon said the ships would be watched every step of the way as they passed the UK. Here's our Moscow correspondent, Steve Rosenberg.
Russian warships this morning in the Strait of Dover. The task force is heading to the Mediterranean and the conflict in Syria. But this is the biggest demonstration of Moscow's military might off Britain's coast for years. Sailing through the English Channel today is Russia's only aircraft carrier, the Admiral Kuznetsov. And close by, the nuclear-powered battlecruiser, Peter the Great. And shadowing the Russians, the Royal Navy. The British government has promised that the Russian fleet will be marked every inch of the way. It suspects that the Russians are trying to test British capabilities by sailing close to UK shores.
Well, the deployment itself is clearly directed in the immediate sense towards Syria, but it has a side benefit to the mentality of the present-day leaders of Russia of showing that they still have a navy of some significance. And the message to this country in particular is probably that their navy is more extensive than ours now.
One of the ships in the flotilla is the anti-submarine destroyer, the Vice Admiral Kulakov. Earlier this year, the Russians granted us rare access to the ship on a previous deployment to the Mediterranean. They showed us its 100mm naval cannon for destroying targets in the air and at sea. And they opened up the hatches to show off their biggest rockets. Some of the Russian media have described this as a Russian armada. But this deployment is about more than just Moscow boosting its firepower in Syria. It sends a strong message to the West, to Europe and the United States, that Russia is a global player and a military force to be reckoned with. It's also a country facing international condemnation over recent Russian airstrikes on Aleppo. Moscow claims that the Russian and Syrian air forces have been targeting only terrorists here. It's announced a pause in the air campaign, it says, to allow civilians out of the city. If Russia resumes airstrikes on Aleppo, its aircraft carrier could play a key role in the operation. But for these warships, the route is almost as important as the destination. Moscow wants the world to see that Syria is a red line for Moscow, and it won't be backing down. Steve Rosenberg, BBC.